Happy Saturday. I hope your weekend is off to a great start. Come aboard as we set sail on an epic journey of heroism and survival and a really cool Lego set today on Brickscale Studio. Welcome back to Brickscale Studio. My name is Jeff. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm always humbled and grateful that you are here. As you know, the Batmobile is on hiatus as we're waiting for parts, so we are delving into a Lego build of an historic ship called the Endurance that was part of the Imperial Transatlantic Expedition in 1914. So, like the Titanic, this was a real ship. And it belonged to Ernest Shackleton, and he purchased it in 1914 for the purposes of the Imperial Transatlantic Expedition. And prior to this expedition, he had been part of two other expeditions to discover the South Pole. And unfortunately, those expeditions didn't work out. And before he could attempt a third, the South Pole was eventually reached by Roald Amundsen on December 14th, 1911. So since the South Pole had already been discovered, he decided that he wanted to be the first person to make a land crossing across the Antarctic continent. So he was going to sail down to Antarctica and then disembark from the ship and then dog sled across the entire Antarctic continent. Unfortunately, he did not reach his goal, and this expedition also was not successful. However, it's an exhilarating story of strength and endurance, as the name of the ship is aptly named, which it was named before this, obviously, but definitely comes into play here. So he embarked on this journey. The ship was already waiting for him in Argentina. He had gotten delayed in London on some business, finishing up details for the expedition. So on August 8th, 1914, which is why this video is coming out today, I know it's a kind of a day late, but just sort of honoring the anniversary, he left London to join the ship, and once he got there, they embarked and headed down south to the Antarctic continent, which was their goal. However, like I said, they would not reach that goal. The ship got stuck in the ice, and they were trapped there from like November of 1915 is when the ship sank, and the crew was trapped there until October of 1916. So just imagine this journey started in 1914, and the crew was not rescued until 1916. And this whole time, they are stranded in the Antarctic, which is winter 24/7. So, yeah, crazy. So this video is going to be longer than normal because this build was huge. And even though initially my raw footage came in at 8.5 hours, I edited it down to about an hour. But then I further made cuts and got it down to the build portion anyway, around 26 minutes. So that's the actual build footage is 26 minutes. This video will probably end up being 35 minutes, 40 minutes maybe total with all my yammering. But it's super interesting story. So normally when I do these build videos of Lego, I go through each bag of parts, do a time lapse, building that bag of parts, and then sort of talk about it and then do that kind of thing. So I didn't do that this time. I still did the time lapses, but I combined multiple bags into one time lapse and kind of did a voiceover. So to kind of minimize those interruptions to speed things along. So a little bit different format, but hopefully enjoyable. Some of that voiceover, I give you some history and information about the journey and the ship. So we'll talk a little bit more about the expedition at the end of the video. So be sure to watch to the end. Also, I will give you details on how you can win a brand new copy of this set for your very own. So let's get into the build. Here we have the Endurance. This is a pretty big set. The box barely fits on screen here. But it is set 10335 and contains 3,011 pieces. So this is the front of the box. And then on the back of the box, we have some pieces here. So let's unbox this and see what we have. Right, so this is one of those boxes within a box set. So let's get this box open. Oh my goodness. All right, we do have one paper bag here. And then we have our manual here. All right, so let me get this all organized and we'll be right back. Okay, there were 28 numbered bags, plus we got 2 unnumbered bags, and then 1 paper bag here. No sticker sheet, so that's cool. Once again, scan the QR code, get your points. You can get the electronic version of the manual. And then, of course, we have some information about the Endurance and the voyage. And then the LEGO design team. And then we get right into the build. Just the one fairly thick manual. So even though there are 3,000 pieces and 28 bags, it looks like it's pretty manageable, so don't be intimidated. This is bag number 1. So, you know, there's only 1 bag per number, and this is bag number 1. So not that many pieces, so don't get overwhelmed. So let's get right into the build. Okay, and that is bag number 1. So we have this piece. And there were quite a few call-outs in the manual here. Like, for example, to say the ship's hull front was clad with metal sheets to protect the wooden keel from the polar ice. On the model, this section was recreated with a rarely used 1x4x3 inverted slope brick. So that would be these 2 pieces here. These 2 black pieces. It's like so. All right, so put that back on there. So that is bag number 1. Let's move on to bag number 2. To talk a little more about the hull, even though it looked from the outside like that of any other vessel, it was not. The Endurance was designed for polar conditions with very sturdy construction. Her keel members were 4 pieces of solid oak, one above the other, adding to a thickness of 85 inches, while her sides were between 30 and 18 inches, with twice as many frames as normal and the frames being of double thickness. At the time of her launch in 1912, Endurance was arguably the strongest wooden ship ever built, with the possible exception of Fram, the vessel used by Roald Amundsen. As we know, he discovered the North and South Pole. But there was one major difference between the ships. The Fram was bowl-bottomed, which meant that if ice closed in against her, the ship would be squeezed up and out and not be subject to the pressure of the compressing ice. Endurance, on the other hand, was not intended to be frozen into heavy pack ice, and so was not designed to rise out of a crush. Also, interesting note, it was the first ever vessel to be insured to sail into Antarctic waters. Before that, insurance of vessels taking part in Antarctic exploration, the coverage lapsed when they left the last port on their way to the Antarctic. However, again, the Endurance would be the first vessel to be insured in the ice zone. It was deemed a safe risk to cover because all previous voyages to the Antarctic had returned safely. Now, like our Lego Titanic build, be sure to check out that series if you haven't already. I'll put a link in the description box. The Endurance is built in 3 sections. With the end of Bag 6, we complete the first section. The brown frame will be used to construct the second middle piece of the ship. All right, that is it for bag number 6. So we added some pieces up in here, and then we built this. So on to bag number 7. By the end of bag 12, we will finish the middle portion and join it to the front. Okay, that is the end of bag number 12. So we've joined the 2 pieces together and we've put the rods in to hold them. We've also removed this temporary sort of holder piece for the front section. And we moved this section, which was wholly supporting this back end, we moved it up so that it balances the ship. So that is it for bag number 12. On to bag number 13. Now we start working on the back portion of the ship. The instruction manual indicates that the propeller on the actual Endurance was black, but for Lego it was molded in gold so that it will stand out from the black hull. In this section, we also complete 2 cabins. We got the Endurance nameplate here, and there was a note that said the Endurance was originally named Polaris. Whether Shackleton considered the name of the North Star unfit for an expedition to the South Pole, or he was inspired by his family motto, "By endurance we conquer," is unknown. Either way, the star stayed on. Where we are at the end of bag 16, so on to bag 17. We complete the 3rd section of the ship and join it to the other 2 sections. All right, that's the end of bag 20, and we have all 3 parts of the ship hooked together. So similar to the front section, the back goes in with these rods. There we have it. So on to bag number 21. Now that we've completed all 3 hull sections, we start work on the decks. This includes the kennel for the dogs. The Endurance had 69 dogs aboard. These would be the sled dogs that would take them across the continent of Antarctica. Sadly, the dogs would not survive the expedition. We complete the 4 lifeboats and build the steam funnel. In addition to the sails for wind power, the Endurance also had a steam engine that could reach speeds of 10.2 knots or 11.7 miles per hour. Okay, that's it for bag 26. So it might be difficult to see, but basically we are getting all of the sail rigging and everything ready to go here. It looks like we're going to be doing more of the same in 27. Okay, that's the end of bag 27. So I believe that is all of our masts. So for the last bag, we have a bag of parts, and then we also have this unnumbered bag that we'll be using, and then of course our paper bag, which has the sails in it. So yeah, this should be an interesting final step here. We built 2, and we're going to be building 4 more ladders. So I'll come back when all the ladders are complete, and we will attach them. Okay, so we have our ladders done. So let's get those popped in here. All right, so next we are going to do the anchor, it looks like. Alright, yeah, this might be better if I change the camera angle, so let me do that really quick. Alright, we're going to see how it goes with this camera angle, because we have a lot of sails to put on. So the sails come in this paper bag, and I just wanted to take them out because there is a ton. Make sure I got them all here. So some of them got a little wrinkled, but... Alright, so there are all the sails, plus we have a flag. And so the first one, I believe, is this one. This is the one I want, and it's going to go right on the front of the ship. Like so. So let me get this threaded, and then I will probably have to end up changing the camera angle because the masts are very tall. Yeah, you can only see about half. There's still like way more up. So once I get this all threaded on, I'll show you, and then we will proceed. Alright, so here I have it threaded on the string. And you just, it's kind of over, under, over, under, over, under. No big deal. So this is going to go about here. And we're going to take this long end of the string, and it's going to wind all the way to the back of the ship. And there is, let me grab the manual here. So there is a nice diagram that shows you, exactly where the string goes and all that good stuff. So we will I will be using that as I go through here. So we're going up through this hole, through the crow's nest, down, across, and then all the way down to here. And then we're putting a pin in this little beam to hold the string. And we do have a lot of excess string, so... Alright, so I'm going to push this back because we have to build some more stuff here. Alright, now we're taking our other string. So this one, of course, is going to go slightly different than the last one. Okay, so we have that in. So we're going to go through this same one But instead of going across like we did, we're going to go down this time. Like so. All right. And then we are going to go back up through the crow's nest. But then instead of going down, we're going across. Okay, perfect. And now we're going into the other side of this little beam. All right, so there we have that. So now we need these two pieces, this sort of reel here. So we want to take both ends of these strings and pass it through this wheel. All right, so now that we've got that, so once we put this pin in, that holds it into place. So that explains why we took the decks off, because this has to go down here. All right, perfect. All right, so now apparently we can put the decks back on if we remember which way they go. So now we have our other two chains here. And those are going to go one on that side, like that. And then, of course, the other one on the other side, like so. All right, perfect. So now we need some more sails. All right, so now we're going to take out this temporary one that's been holding the back end, and we're going to slide this one forward. So hopefully there. It kind of shows this little tab sort of under this lifeboat. So now we need some more building here. All right, so that is the Lego Endurance. And very nice. Here's the finished Endurance. Wow. I wasn't really sure what I was getting into with this model, but my goodness, it was very detailed. It's a lot larger than I thought it was going to be. And I think it just looks fantastic. So let's just take a look at the features. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 sails, plus the red flag. We have 4 lifeboats. They are detachable. Now, I'm not going to do it. You saw me kind of messing around with it when we were putting the sails on. But this decking, you can remove it, and there are some cabins. That you can, 2 cabins you can take a look at. And then you can also turn the wheel, and it turns the rudder. So that's very cool. Just to give you some dimensions. So it is 31.5 inches long, 9.5 inches wide, and 18.5 inches tall. Now this one, I know a lot of people joke when they see the 18 plus on the box and they say, oh, come on now. This one, I would definitely say it's for older builders. Probably, I would say, you know, I'm definitely no expert, but maybe 14 or 15 years old and up. Maybe a little younger with some supervision, but it is really intricate. But all in all, I mean, the end results speak for themselves. It's a very cool display piece. So that is it for the Endurance. Wow, that was a long but very cool build. So since it's going to be a long video anyway, I don't want to overtalk it too much at the end here. But as I mentioned in a previous video, there are some similarities to Titanic. The first being sort of the timeline or the time frame. Titanic was sunk in 1912. And this is expedition starts in 1914, so just in the same sort of within a couple of years of each other. And also the other kind of funny thing is we were talking about the hull of the ship and how it was constructed. Most people thought that both ships were, I mean, they called the Titanic unsinkable, and many people weren't concerned that the Endurance could sink because it was built with all this extra framing, and the beams were so thick and everything like that. They just didn't think that it was, going to be able to be crushed by the ice. And as I mentioned in the video, there was some the actual construction was part of the problem, I think. Most of the ships that went down there were bowl-like, so when the ice seized around them, instead of crushing them, it sort of just pushed them up and out of the ice. So then once the ice melted, they just went back in the water and away they went. Again, like I said, the similarities with the Titanic, a lot of people thought they were unsinkable. Also, both ships actually sunk and were both brought down by ice. One in the North Atlantic, one in the South Atlantic. With the Titanic, we often think of it as this tale of hubris and tremendous loss of life. It's kind of the opposite with the Endurance. Like, the Endurance is such a tale of heroism and survival. Literally every single crew member survived. There was not a single casualty due to this 2 years being stranded. So it's an amazing story. So if you want to learn more about it, there's so much of the story that I'm not telling you because it's just so much to go into. But if you want to learn more about this, there is a great documentary. It's called Endurance. It was released in 2024 by National Geographic. It's available on Disney Plus and Hulu. It is fascinating. So not only does it talk about the expedition, but it also follows the expedition of a modern day crew in 2022 who is looking for the wreck of the Endurance. So like the Titanic, which wrecked in 1912, it took over 70 years until I think it was discovered in 1985. And so the Endurance took over 100 years. It sunk in 1915 and wasn't discovered until 2022. So this documentary does a good job of going back and forth between the actual expedition and then this new expedition to find the wreck. And the cool thing is, Shackleton took a photographer with him, so there are pictures, and actually he took a very early film camera, a motion picture camera. So there's like actual motion picture moving footage of the expedition. So super fascinating. One sort of cool coincidence is that they discovered the wreck of the Endurance on March 5th, 2022, which was the 100th anniversary of Ernest Shackleton's passing. He passed away March 5th, 1922. And they discovered his wrecked ship March 5th, 2022. So super fascinating story. I highly recommend that documentary. Also, the instruction manual for the Lego set is full of a bunch of little tidbits and information. I really love when Lego, which, most people think of Lego as a toy, but it can help you learn about history, it can get you interested in history, and it can be educational and teach you something. It's not just a toy. So I promise to keep this sort of conclusion short because it's already a long video, but I just had a really good time building this set and learning about the Endurance. It was just fascinating. So if you haven't got this set, check it out. I'll put a link down below to the Lego website. It is just a really cool set and fascinating history, and definitely watch that documentary. How can you get this set for free? So as I have been like a broken record in all of my videos. I'm asking you to please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Totally free to subscribe. So we're trying to hit some subscriber milestones, and we are almost, well, we're getting to 500, which is super exciting. So in that giveaway, we're going to give away a Lego AT-AT set. But when we hit 1,000 subscribers, we're going to give away a brand new sealed in box copy of the Endurance. Totally free. It doesn't cost you a cent to subscribe. Doesn't cost you a cent to enter once we get to 1,000 subscribers. So again, hit that subscribe button, smash that notification bell, like the videos, comment. It really helps the algorithm get it out to more people. So until we see each other again, happy building, take care, be kind to each other, and I will see you soon.